it's generations of trauma. It's passed on, and so much damage has been done. It's time now to accept the truth, and that's what truth and reconciliation is all about. Tansy, Tracey Vennels, Nikitikisan. I am a member of Métis Nation. I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, and I'm an artist. I discovered my Métis heritage later in life. It was not talked about in my family. Even her mother, my grandmother, I asked her specifically about my heritage, and she would never talk about it. It was completely kept secret. And the reason was that in the past, it was shameful, embarrassing, because the Métis people were originally, it was a European settler who would marry an Indigenous woman, and the children that were born weren't Indigenous, they weren't fully Cree, is my background, or Scottish was the settlers where he came from. They were half and half. And the word Métis it means mixed. Years and years ago, when it was the time of the residential schools, you didn't want your children to go to residential school because it was terrible.
Our culture was not meant for us. It was the work of the devil, they said.
Still hurt.
And so a lot of the Métis people just ignored any of their Indigenous culture roots, anything that would make them stand out, and they tried to be as white as possible. So that's why it was lost for a long time. It wasn't talked about. A lot of culture was lost, a lot of language was lost, and a lot of family stories were not shared or were kept secret. So I was probably about 40 when I got my Métis Nation membership. I discovered information through a book that I had purchased. It's a book called Beyond Bruxelles, and it's a place in Saskatchewan that doesn't exist anymore. There's a museum there. But in that book, I found my roots all the way to the Red River settlement. So I'm 7th generation Métis. There's 3 Indigenous groups in Canada. There's the First Nations group, and there's the Inuit, and then there's the Métis. We are a recognized group of the Indigenous people of Canada. I take action every day in my classroom, whether it's sharing things about Métis or sharing information about Squamish culture. I incorporate it all the time through literature, through music. I do art things that sort of, like I've done an art activity that mimics beading. I bead a lot and I love it. Beading is my medicine. And so I think it's important to preserve as much as we can, because a lot has been lost and a lot of damage has been done. And I didn't learn about it when I was in school, but the students are learning about it now. And anybody that's learning about it, we say truth and reconciliation, and people like to say Reconcili-ACTION, like what are you going to do? And it doesn't have to be an overwhelming thing. You take action in reading an Indigenous author's book, or listening to a podcast that's an Indigenous, or going to a movie that's directed by an Indigenous director. It can be little things like that. It's acknowledging it. It doesn't have to be a huge fundraising event or anything like that. It's just everyday things that we do, and everyone can do, towards educating yourself what this means and who the people in our country are.